Humanity, I love you all with all my heart, with all my might. My videos are about love, infinity, creation, because this is exactly who we are. We're infinite eternal creators, we're infinite energy, we're infinite love, we're infinite creation, we're infinite energy. This is exactly who we are. This is exactly who we are. This is exactly who we are. We are this. We're infinite love, infinite energy, infinite creation. This is exactly who we are. Very happy to be chatting with you today. Today is a lovely video. It's a lovely video. Let's jump into it right away. So today's video is about duality. You can always refer to it on Substack and on YouTube and on the website by visiting y.house/duality. That's y.house/duality. It's in all the channels. Okay, so duality principles. Let's talk about it. It's a lot of information, a lot of principles. It's all based on objective reality. It's truth. Okay. So essentially, I have identified 28 duality principles that are the building blocks of what's known as proto-meta systems. So what's a proto-meta system or proto-meta systems? Infinity is a proto-meta system. Okay, proto means the beginning, the origin, the source, the genesis. And meta means the system of the system. It's like the regulating mechanism. It's like the system that organizes the system. So, for example, when you do meta thinking, which is something that we humans can do and engage on, is like when you're thinking about what you're thinking. Okay. So that's what meta level is. A meta level or a meta scale is an abstraction, meaning it's an extrapolation, is observing the observer, essentially, is self-awareness at the most fundamental level, is being conscious of your self-awareness, is being self-aware of your self-awareness. Okay, so this is essentially why this is a kernel. It's the beginning of everything at all. It's a proto-meta system. It's a proto-meta system. Proto meaning the beginning, and meta meaning the system of the system. So proto-meta means the first meta system. Okay, the first meta system, or the first system, the first structure, the first logic, the first creation. This is what proto-meta means. Okay, the beginning of it all, whatever that is. Because we're talking about duality principles, and we're talking about infinity. My videos are about love, infinity, creation, energy, because this is exactly who we are. We're infinite love, infinite energy, we're infinite creation. So infinity itself, the creator, okay, is a proto-meta system, okay? And everything that it does is based on principles that come together and form infinity itself, a proto-meta system. So I have identified 28 principles, duality principles. I have identified 28 of them, but I'm sure that there is an infinite number of them. But these are the most relevant, the ones that we can observe in nature, natural occurrence, natural phenomena, and there are the ones that I believe are closest aligned with infinity as a concept as we know it, that meets the precise definition, the accurate definition, the full definition of all its values, its properties, its attributes, its qualities, its constitution, the full definition, being eternal, being forever, endless, boundless, limitless. Okay, infinity itself, and then these duality principles come together and they form a proto-meta systems. So infinity itself is a proto-meta system, the creator itself, okay, which is also us, because we are proto-meta systems ourselves, because we are creators. And because we create, we came before our creation, so we're proto, and then we can design systems of systems. So we ourselves are part of infinity, so we are proto-meta systems. So everything that is conscious and self-aware is a proto-meta system, essentially, capable of creation. If you're capable of love, capable of creation, you're conscious and self-aware, you're energy, and you're infinite, you are a proto-meta system, essentially. So we are proto-meta systems, but the original proto-meta system is infinity itself that created everything. Light spherical energy, polarized and electromagnetic. Okay, so let's get into it. It's a lot of principles, so I want to get to them. So duality principles. Why duality? Well, duality because it's a state, it's a transformation, it's a metamorphosis, it's moving from a state to another state, for a no state to an active state, a non-active state to an active state. Okay, and that's exactly what duality is, and we can see it everywhere in infinity, in creation, in eternity, in existence, out there in the cosmos, in nature. We see it everywhere, and we call it polarization. It's polarity. It's polarity, because remember, infinity itself is polarization. It's positive and negative coming together, and electromagnetism as a result, and electrogravitics and telemetry as a result of infinity itself and its nature and its principles, which are based on duality. Because you need to have two states. Essentially, you need to have two states in order to generate spin, in order to generate motion. So infinity itself gets formed at an energetic state, which is what we are. Because in order for you to be conscious, you need to know that you exist. And in order for you to know that you exist, you need to be able to observe yourself. And in order for you to be able to observe yourself, you need to have the ability to contrast and compare, so you can be self-aware of your own existence. And the only way you could do that is if you have a mirror image, a reflection, something that allows you to see the difference, so you can compare, you can contrast, and then you can see the difference and understand the patterns in a conscious manner and self-awareness. Otherwise, if it's only one thing, you will never know that it is, because it doesn't have the ability to feedback loop. It doesn't have the ability to understand itself, because it doesn't know that it exists, because it's only one thing. But the moment that you create duality, the moment that duality comes into form, consciousness and awareness form, because you're conscious that there is two objects rather than one thing. And that, in physics, is the first motion due to duality, polarity, electromagnetism. So duality is an important concept because it's the foundation of everything else. Without duality, we wouldn't exist. Without duality, the infinity wouldn't exist in the first place. Because it's duality, it's the contrast, it's the comparison, it's the fact that there is two rather than one that allows us to move into states, different states. So that leads to consciousness and self-awareness, because you can compare and contrast and know the difference between one state and the other. Otherwise, it's only one state, one dimension, and it doesn't have motion. There's nothing, so there's no motion, no electricity, then it doesn't exist. So duality is essentially it. It's what creates everything in the way that we know as infinity. So it's duality principles. And all these 28 principles that I'm going to talk to you now come up in the way of a proto-meta system, which is what we are and what infinity is. So let's get started. So obviously, because infinity is the creator, we got to start there. So there's two states. Finite, something that is finite, something that is scarce, something that it can be counted, something that is limited, something that has boundaries, something that doesn't last forever, something that is not eternal. Okay? The opposite, right? The antonym, the opposite of the antipode, essentially, the opposite of infinity, definition wise, attributes, qualities, properties, constitution, values, the opposite. So that's finite, something that is finite. So we're moving from a finite state to an infinite state. And in order for you to understand that, you need duality, so you understand the contrast, you know the difference between infinity and what's not infinite. Okay, so it starts there because infinity is creation, it's light spherical energy, it's polarized, it's electromagnetic, telemetry and electrogravitics, all as one due to the singularity. I've explained this in previous videos. Okay, so now the second state, so infinity comes into the way that we know it, its nature is polarity, and that is energy. So you need two states. You need a negative state, a negative charge, and a positive charge. Okay, so in that way, duality comes into motion at the energy level, which is creation itself. So negative energy, negative charge, positive charge. Okay, so it's a state. So right there, you move from one state to the other. So transformation is a metamorphosis. And then you can apply this in our own lives. Negative thoughts, positive thoughts, negative action, positive actions, duality. See, infinite things, infinite things. That's just, you apply it at all scales because infinity is everything, and you can apply these duality principles at all scales of creation, at all scales of infinity, because this is a proto-meta system. It's everything that there is, okay? So then the third one is polarization. So depolarized and polarized, meaning as a state in which there is no polarization, in which is finite, it has no motion, it's inert, it's lifeless, it lacks volume, like the shadow, is friction, is static, is background noise. Okay, it doesn't have a substance, it's not alive, it's not conscious and self-aware. So that will be a depolarized state in which there is no positive or negative, it's finite. Okay, and then we transition into a polarized state in which there is negativity and positivity, there is axis, there is poles. So electromagnetism can form and infinity forms as a result. Infinity, positive, polarized. Okay, this is the state, from a no state to a state, transition, transformation, metamorphosis. Okay, duality principles. Then from there, because infinity is love, consciousness and self-awareness, infinite states of love, we create with our heart, with our love. Then we need to understand the opposite of it, the duality, right? And that is fear. It's a low state, low vibration. It's the lowest vibration of the heart. It's the lowest vibration. The heart is energy, so it's the lowest level of polarization. It's a very negative charge, and it's finite because fear is that, it's inaction, it's inert, it's destruction, it's destructive in nature, it's negative. So that state is a very finite state. It leads to negativity, not positivity. So then we move away from that state into a positive state, which is love, which is infinity, positivity, polarization, infinite energy, infinite creation, the highest state of the human heartbeat, the pulse of life, the pulse of creation. High energy outputs as a result, high creations with love. So that's the state, it's the highest frequency of the human heart. Fear is the lowest one. So we move from one state to a higher state. Okay. Then let's move to the next one, because once you're alive, you love, you're conscious of being sentient, then you move into what? Well, an unconscious state, meaning fear, negativity, depolarization, find a state of thinking, scarcity. In this mindset, unconscious behavior, you don't know your nature, you don't know who you are, into a conscious state where you know who you are, light spherical being, infinite energy, infinite love, infinite creation, benevolent species. We live to love, we love to live. Our nature, who we are, compasses, sundials. Okay, we're conscious of who we are. We're one with everything, one with creation. We're proto-meta systems ourselves. We understand duality principles, and we create with a heart energy because we're one with everything. We're sundials. We're compass. Okay, so then once you're conscious, you move into the next stage, which is starts on the no state, into the transformation, the metamorphosis as unaware. You're unaware, meaning you don't know, you lack the understanding, the perspective of something. You're unaware, and you move from unawareness into self-awareness. So unaware to self-aware. You know who you are, you know who you exist, you know you're infinite, you're love, you're a creator, you're an infinite eternal creator, you're a compass, you're a sundial, you're one with everything, you're a proto-meta system, you're a singularity, you're a human heartbeat. Okay, so that's the nature, transformation, metamorphosis, moving from one state to a state, no state to a state, okay, to a bad state to a good state. Evolution. It's evolution. This is what it is. It's evolution. Okay, so once you understand that you're conscious and self-aware, you have love, you're polarized, your positivity, you're infinite, you understand your nature, light spherical energy, who we are, the human singularity, the human heartbeat, pulse of life, the pulse of creation, then you understand purpose, because we're here for a purpose. The purpose of life is a life of purpose. Purpose for life, meaningful life, fulfilling life, a happy life. We live to love, we love to live. That's our instinct to live is our instinct to love. We're here to create, to love, and we create with a heart energy. And we do that with purpose, purposeful daily action. That's what compass is, the 8 primary elements. Okay, starts with the creator, with the human heartbeat, identity and true self. Purpose, time and energy, action, why, how, flow, true north, and destination. So you understand who you are. So in that way, you go from a non-state of purposeless, in which you're not in control, you're driven by fantasies and illusions, by fear, you're unconscious, you're unaware, you're depolarized in a way because you're not consonant with your actions. Okay, you're being negative, you're in a finite state, you don't understand your nature, you think you're just a solid object, matter, like these ideas out there that are just like we're random and stuff. All these notions that there's no free will and all these ideas and stuff. All this, unawareness of existence itself at that level. So that's what it is purposeless. And you transition into a purposeful state. Transformation, metamorphosis into who we are, purposeful light beings, purposeful creators, purposeful results, purposeful love, purposeful energy, purposeful daily action, purposeful goals, exactly who we are, purposeful dreams, a purposeful life, okay, the pinnacle of life. So this is exactly what it is. You see the duality there. We're moving away from one state to the other state. Transformation, metamorphosis, evolution, okay? And we evolve because we're sundials. We stare at the sun, and the light from the sun comes into our eyes and supercharges our brain, our hearts, our bodies, and our DNA structure is supercharged, and we evolve. This is how we evolve, by letting the light from the sun stare into our eyes, so our DNA structure gets supercharged, and we evolve into who we are, consciousness and self-awareness, love, purpose, positivity, infinity, who we are. Okay, so once you understand these, purposeless and purposeful, the state, then we move into the next level, which is, when you're purposeless, you're destructive. So that's negative state, is fear-based, is destructive in nature. So we move away from it when we evolve, when we become one with everything, understand consciously who we are, and we transition into a harmonious state, from destructive to harmonious. Because we're purposeful now, we're self-aware, we're conscious, we're love, we're positive, we're infinite, we're polarized, we're energy, we're polarity, we understand our nature, light spherical beings. And because we're compass and sundials, then we understand that we're harmonious, meaning we're in harmony with existence itself, we're in resonance with it. Everything We're part of everything because we're one with everything. We're connected to everything. We're energy. We're a pulse of life with a pulse of creation. We're resonance ourselves. We're a singularity connected to infinity because we're, as a singularity, we're a node, a wormhole, a vortex that is connected to infinity through quantum entanglement. And there is telemetry to it. There is electrogravitics. And this is how we communicate on the feedback loop of infinity, so we conscious and self-aware, and we can love in the first place, because this sphere of infinity itself, the surface of it, has an infinite number of coordinates, infinite number of points on each singularity, each of us, each creation, each proto-meta system, each singularity at any scale, biological, astronomical, terrestrial, the sun, planet, earth, us, anyone, the galaxy, the universe, everything, infinite number of universes, infinite number of galaxies, infinite number of stars, infinite number of planets, infinite number of spherical light beings that are conscious and self-aware. Each of us is a proto-meta system that's conscious and self-aware. And when you understand this notion, which is based on duality principles, proto-meta systems, infinity itself, the nature of reality, then you become harmonious with everything. You're in resonance with everything. Because you understand who you are. You're here to create. You live to love and you love to live. And this is who we are with light spherical energy. And that's why when the sun, light spherical energy itself, comes into our eyes, which are spherical, supercharges our electromagnetic field, which is spherical, and then our DNA evolves. Supercharges the structure of the DNA, the code, everything, the genome evolves. Okay? And we become that more conscious. We're one with everything, capable of more love, capable of more creation. Okay, so then obviously if you're destructive, then that's chaotic. It's a chaotic state, it's chaos. And that's a no state, is a bad state, and we transform, metamorphosize into the opposite, which is synergistic. We're synergistic, there is synergy in our actions because we're harmonious, we're purposeful, we're self-aware, we're conscious, we're love, we're positivity, we're infinity, we're polarized because we're light spherical beings. Who we are in nature. Okay, so it's synergistic with what? With infinity, because everything is energy. So we're in synergy with energy itself because we're conscious of it. Okay, so then if you're chaotic, then you're random. Your actions are random. You're not in control of your life. You're driven by fantasies and illusions, by fear, all unconscious awareness, purposelessness, all this negative stuff. You're finite in your mindset because you don't understand who you are. Okay, but when you move away from randomness, from all these low vibration, into a higher frequency, transformed, metamorphosized, evolved into synchronistic. So you become synchronistic because you're synergistic, because you're harmonious, you're purposeful, you're self-aware, you're conscious, you love, you're positive, you're infinite. So what does that mean? Well, you're in synchrony with everything now. Your actions are synchronistic. You're in synchrony, you're synchronized with what you do, purposeful daily action, your flow, your energy, your emotions, your heartbeat, reality around you. Because remember, it's a human heartbeat that allows us to exist. It's the primordial instinct. And because of it, our love for ourselves is a rhythm of existence, the pulse of life, the pulse of creation, is synchronicity with everything. So then you understand that you're here to create, and your actions are purposeful and synchronistic and synergistic and harmonious because you're in flow with existence, with infinity self, because you're infinite yourself. Okay, so we move into the next stage. So it starts with being disconnected, right after random is disconnected. You feel that you don't belong, you don't understand what's happening, and all this negativity because you aren't aware, all this state, and you move into the opposite of it, which is connected. Why? Because you're connected with everything, with infinity itself. You're a node, a singularity, a wormhole, a vortex within the biggest singularity of all, which is infinity itself, creation itself. Okay, so you're connected to everything. So you understand your nature, who you are. Because you're just, creation creates creators, and creators create creation. So infinity is a creator and it's creation itself, and it created us. And it's decentralized, meaning it's an organizing agent. So it does it in scales of density. And biology is the density of what? Creation. And we are creators ourselves. So we are everything. We're infinity ourselves. This is why we're conscious and self-aware. So we understand this notion of infinity. And this is exactly why we're connected and it's part of infinity, because we are it. We're the event horizon ourselves. Okay? This is why we're connected. And we understand these, then everything starts to happen for us. Our purpose, our life, our dreams. Okay, at the biological scale. Because we're just light spherical energy, just like infinity itself. Like sun is light spherical energy as well. Okay? Because we have an electromagnetic heartbeat, pulse of life, the pulse of frequency, and the resonance is electromagnetic and is a sphere surrounding the human body, powering the organs. And so we consciousness for unconscious in the first place and sentient. So that's why this is a singularity. This is how we all connected. We're all one. Okay. So then again, when you're disconnected in a negative state, no state, then it's a single point. It's not a single point of failure. So all these errors, all these mistakes, all these problems, because you're not self-aware, you're not conscious of who you are. So it's this one point, it's a single point, lots of bottlenecks, lots of issues, lots of jams. You're thinking the way you are because you're purposeless. You're not really doing what you're supposed to do because you're stuck. But then once you transition, you evolve, you metamorphosize, then it's the opposite, which is distributed, which is our true nature. Because you're infinite, you're positive, you're polarized. This love, consciousness, is self-awareness, purposeful. With purposefulness, harmonious, synergistic, synchronistic, connected. And because you understand infinity itself is distributed because of the nodes, because of all the points, feedbacking back to the system. The feedback loop feeds back every time there is an infinity cycle, meaning a pulse, a resonance of each system at each node. Then that information feeds back into the system. Okay? Because that's self-reinforcement, so self-learning, self-perpetuity, and that's what makes it conscious and self-aware and stable. Because of it, it's distributed. Everything is part of it. That's why we're all spherical, because it's spherical geometry, energy in that way. Creation itself is that. It allows us to be distributed. So everything can be part of it, and conscious and self-aware, and life state where everything is life always because of the pulse. Pulse of a star, the pulse of the heart, pulse of Earth, the pulse of the galaxy, the pulse of infinity itself. Everything as one, always feedback, as a feedback loop, always. So we're distributed. So there's no single point. We are all one. Then if you're a single point and you're in that negative state, you're centralized. It's all centralized into one thing. It's very primitive, very rudimentary, very obsolete. It's fragile, really. So because of, you move away from that into what decentralized, which is infinity itself. Everything is decentralized. We are conscious and self-aware and creators ourselves. Decentralized from creation itself. We're creating ourselves with our free will, purposefully action. But everything else out there is also decentralized and creating. Okay. And then a way, when you're linear in that, when you're centralized in all these negative states, you're linear. Linear thinking, linear progression is always one line, is one dimensional, always straight lines, or like you think of things linear like time and all these different things, always a line. It's always linear. You're just kind of like following basic sequences. And because it's a single point, you're not understanding infinity for what it is. But once you do the opposite, everything else, then you move away from linearity into hypergeometry. You become hypergeometric, which is understanding yourself, proto meta systems, and everything else, and you're part of it. So it's your dimension as an individual, your true self, your identity, and everyone else's dimensions, and infinity itself, and everything that's part of infinity. So you become hypergeometric, meaning you go outside your own geometry, your own self, you self-transcend into infinity itself. And then everything is not, hypergeometry is an infinite number of points, just like this tension of the surface of the sphere, the coordinates, the nodes. Is infinity itself. Is like an infinite number of lines, essentially. They're all interconnected in a sphere. So you become hypergeometric. It's telemetric thinking. Okay, so then away, we move into the next one, which is when you're negative in this state is fragmented. You're fragmented because you don't understand all your different parts. You're shattered, these fantasies, these illusions. All this stuff fragmented, but you move away from that into an integrated version of yourself where you're fully integrated, like you integrate the shadow, all these, you integrate yourself, your unconscious mind, and you know who you are, your nature, love, infinity, all these. And then you integrate it with what? With infinity itself. You understand your mind is integrated. It understands your nature, benevolent species, infinite eternal creator, sundial compass, infinite love, infinite energy, infinite creation. Who you are, light spherical being. Okay? And then when you're fragmented in a low state, then this is another principle. You're partial, meaning you're just a part. You're not part of everything. You're just a part. Just a little part. You're partial. Your views are partial as well, because you don't see the full view, the full picture, 360 degrees of it, the full spherical logic. You understand it, full information, complete information sets. And then you're just partial. It's always partial. It's always partial. It's just parts and bits and pieces and units. But when you move away from that, then you transition into what? Well, you're holistic. You see everything for what it is for yourself, holistically, in the whole, with all the parts, making a whole, conscious and self-aware, who we are, light spherical energy, and understanding infinity for what it is, the whole of it, as us being part of it. See, it's a full transformation. And then when you're partial and things like that, then you're dysfunctional. It's another principle. The duality of it is dysfunctional. You're not being functional. You're not being practical. You're not being purposeful. You're dysfunctional. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. Your system is not working well. You are not working well. And then you move away from that into what? Being functional, the opposite, purposeful, functional. Your functions are done. You're using your system for the purpose. You're using your heart to create, to love. You're using your mind to create, to have visions of yourself. You're using your compass. You are sanda, you evolving. All these things coming as one. You're functional. Okay, so then this functional leads to what? Destabilizing. It's a destabilizing agent because you as a creator, you're destabilizing your own existence by not understanding who you are and your purpose and your role in infinity, understanding that you're a proto-meta system, you're infinity yourself, you're a singularity. So it's a destabilizing agent, meaning it leads to destruction, it leads to entropy, it leads to all these negative states that are not conducive to positivity. It's the opposite. And we see that around the world a lot. Okay, so then when you move away from this destabilization, this destabilizing agent, you become the opposite, an organizing agent, an organizing structure, an organizing pattern, just like everything else. And that is your purpose. That's who you are, a creator. Creators create creations, and creation creates creators. So it's one, we're part of it. Okay, organizing agent, just like infinity itself, light spherical energy, is a pattern of creation itself, is a structure, is a space structure, building block, spheres, polarized energy, electrogravitics, telemetry, okay, electromagnetism, gravity. Okay, so then when you're destabilizing, then as a principle, then disorganized, it's disorganization as a result. It's disorganized. It's random, it's chaotic, it's not structured, it's the opposite, it's disorganization. It leads to mess, to problems, scattered. And, a lot of lives out there could lead to that in situations. So it's the opposite. So you move away from that into structured. You become fully structured. Because infinity itself is structure. The structure of infinity is structure of space, a vacuum as we call it. What is it? Well, sphere. Okay, so we ourselves are light spherical energy, light spherical beings. We have an electromagnetic heart, which is electrical, and is spherical, sun spherical. Everything is structured. And we're here to create with our heart, with our energy. So it's understanding that we're structured. It's not such a thing as chaos and randomness out there. That just happens when you're not aware of who you are, our nature. When you're unaware, you're unconscious. You're in a fear state. Okay, so then again, if you're disorganized, that leads to instability, unstable system, unstable duality. But when you move away from that state into a positive one, which is what? Stability, stable, become stable. Infinity self is stable because it's of its own polarity, self-perpetuity. The system fits back into its singularity, center of gravity, equilibrium, and the system keeps going into infinity. The heartbeat keeps going, the pulse of life, the pulse of creation, right? We're stable. It's a stable system. It's a stable system. Who we are, infinity itself, is very stable because it's structured. Okay, it's functional. Okay, so now once you're stable, then that leads to what? Equilibrium, right? So it starts with imbalance. You're not balanced. It's at the low state, then you move to high state, transformation, metamorphosis, evolution into what? Equilibrium. Center of gravity, the zero right there, the epicenter, the wormhole, the vortex, the singularity, the event horizon, creating. In equilibrium with what? With infinity itself, because infinity itself is in equilibrium. This is sphere. It's turning. Energy. Okay, so if you're in imbalance, then it's divided. It's another principle. You're divided. Divide. And there's a lot of division out there. People who don't understand because they're operating out of a fear base and conscious and self-awareness and all these different low states. You know, so when you move away from division, what is the opposite of divided? Well, it's united. A sphere is united. All the points are united. You know, the singularity is that. Singularity is singular point where all points meet. It's the union, united as one. And then electromagnetism emerges out of polarity, and then electrogravitics, telemetry, infinity itself, singularity, infinite energy, infinite love, infinite creation, infinite consciousness, infinite self-awareness, who we are. Okay. And obviously united makes us strong anyway as humans, if you think about it. Okay, so then we move into the next state, which is fragile. When you're fragile, you know, it's easy to break because you're fragmented. And then the opposite is resilient. The system is resilient because it's stable, it's in equilibrium. It's distributed. It's very powerful. And this is who we are. We're resilient. Self-love, healing, recovery, self-acceptance, all these different things. Gratitude, all this makes us extremely powerful. Love, creators. This is what we do because we're humans in the end. It's emotions, we're sentient beings. And then the next one is abstract. When you're in that state, no state and non-state, low vibration, then you're abstract. You're not really there. You're just, life is abstract, fantasies and illusions and stuff. And the system, it's just abstract stuff. It doesn't really make any sense. And then when you move away from it, it's solid. Your life is solid, your actions are solid, your mind is solid, everything that you do is solid, because it's the opposite. It's tangible, it's firm. It's this, concrete. Infinity itself, you understand it, you understand who you are, you're solid. Okay? Which we are physically solid, but in the sense that you don't know what I mean. You're one with everything. You're evolved. And then away, so flawed. When you're abstract in all these low states, you're flawed. It's a flaw. The system is flawed. It's the problems. You can see them. They're obvious problems. It's flawed nature. But when you move away from it, the opposite is what? Sound. It's a sound system. Solid. It's sound. It makes sense. It works. It's fair. It's square. It's good. It's operational. It's functional. And then the opposite of, in terms of the next principle, is asymmetry. Something that is not symmetric. Meaning is that the shape is not, like a sphere is symmetric because all the sides are in equilibrium, it's perfect, it's circular, it's all perfect balance. Like the human body, we are symmetric because we have two eyes, we have two hands, and they're all the same. Asymmetry is the opposite. It's when like you're deformed, or your ideas are deformed or twisted, and they're not in balance. So asymmetry, and creations that are asymmetric are bad creations. You want to be symmetric like nature itself. Nature is extremely symmetric. It's all about symmetry. So it's moving away from asymmetry into symmetry. Balance. Everything is in good order. Then the next one is obsolete. When you're asymmetric on all these different concepts, you're obsolete really. Like, you're primitive. You're not really operating where you're supposed to. You're low level. You're not maximizing your potential. You're wasting your life. So when you move away from that, the opposite is greenfield. It's open field, is creation. It's out there. The world is your oyster. You go and create as an infinite creator. That's what it is. I have spoken about greenfield and white spaces. This notion of telemetric thinking. This is exactly what this is. And then the last one is saturated. When you're saturated, meaning like it's all this saturation in your life, all this static, all this background noise, all this stuff. So this noise, you move away from it, this friction, into a white space, which is infinite creation. Look who we are. Greenfield and white spaces. And these are the 28 principles that make infinity: duality principles, proto-meta systems, evolutions, metamorphoses, the transition, transformational, and this is who we are. I hope you like it. Humanity, I love you all with all my heart, with all my might. I truly do. I truly do. We are the leaders of the Republic of Planet Earth. We're the citizens of the Republic of Planet Earth. We're the defenders of the Republic of Planet Earth. We're sundials, we're compass. This is who we are. We're infinite eternal creators. We're a benevolent species, a love-based species, a heart-based species. This is who we are. A heartful species. This is our nature. We live to love and we love to live. With the human heart, with the pulse of life, the pulse of creation, the citizenry of the Republic of Planet Earth, the citizens of the Republic of Planet Earth. This is who we are. We're infinite love, infinite energy, infinite creation. Love you all with all my heart.